Hey guys, welcome back to Astrea's Broken Heart. We're playing episode 5, I believe. Got everybody caught up. It's all my save files are caught up, so now we can continue on. This one is called Underwater. Last time we left off, we were having a nightmare of sorts, and our father appeared, which is never a good experience. So we'll see what happens with that. Father taught that fear was a gift, something one wasn't supposed to run away from. It cleared the mind of unnecessary, sinful thoughts. It rid one of the need for idle reasoning and the search for false conclusions. And if the veil of fear was thick enough, faith would indeed be blind. Melody was an obedient child and was terrified throughout her childhood, thus expressing her devotion to the cult. As soon as her father appeared to her in her dream, the faith that had long been suppressed under the weight of time flared up again. It burned even brighter to illuminate the way to the beast that awaited her at the end of her nightmare. The dream dissolved without a trace in the morning light, but Melody could have sworn that they had truly met. The proof was in the delicate, thin streak of gray shimmering in her hair, a gift that the morning light had no power to dissolve. What in the rogue? What? What kind of fear must you experience to wake up with a streak of gray hair? What? And what is this hairstyle that I've never seen before? I like it. Melody stared at herself in the mirror in confusion. She recalled her father's distant words, stuck in her childhood. If he now prayed to the beast, then her reaction to their meeting would surely have pleased him. Perfect, unspeakable terror. Melody suddenly felt empty. It was as if all the emotions she was capable of had been consumed by the night. Her apathy was replaced by a fanciful, stubborn desire to detach herself from what had happened. Melody was eager and relieved to give in to this weakness. She decided to simply erase the mark of the nightmare from herself. She would not mention the troubling subject to anyone. Listen, saying that she herself is a person that works with those that are having mental troubles, I feel like she should know best not to just shove stuff down until it blows up in your face. I mean, I don't know, she could at least consider talking about it to somebody, even if just one person. But she ordered hair dye and began to wait for the easiest problem solving of her life. It was hard to tell how much time had passed, but to the tired Melody, the wait didn't seem long. Melody didn't run into anyone on her way to the courier. She returned to her room just as quietly and occupied her mind with the simplest of tasks. She concentrated solely on the task at hand. She showered first, then changed her clothes. Okay, let's see what we got here. Precious. Whoa! It's giving Beetlejuice. Style. Okay. It's a lot of rips. Elegant stripes. Somehow I'm still getting Beetlejuice. That's a tough one. Where do I go with this one? We'll go, for David's route, we'll go with this one. Then she covered up the reminder of the horror she had experienced in her dream. Okay. I kind of like that. I don't like that. Okay. Okay. Do I want the bob? No. I kind of like it. Go this one for this one. And, like a coward, she decided that nothing had happened. There was no father gripping her shoulder so tightly, no beast towering before her as a mass of unspeakable terror. The day had freed her from that nightmare. She threw herself eagerly into its bright, warm embrace. She forced a smile in the mirror and headed for the living room. Super healthy. The upcoming meeting with Furious and Somnus evoked nothing in her this time but a slight weariness. Yeah, I'm already tired of them too. They just got here. Melody wasn't even upset when she realized that there was no one else in the room but her superiors. Their sullen, arrogant faces were just faces. The words they spewed were just words. They posed no threat. I wonder if everyone in heaven is like them. Not far off, honestly. There are way more annoying people in heaven than not. I should at least say something. Melody nodded slightly at the space between the men and paused for a moment. Good morning. Take a seat. Here was with respect. Sooner or later they will acknowledge that. Will they? So, Mikhail told you everything? It was up to her to choose the right words, but she was tired of doing that too, so Melody decided to be blunt. If you mean about your heavenly nature, then yes, he did. Aren't you scared at all? Somnus gave her a grim, crooked smile as if to say, if you're not, I can fix that. I prefer to be glad that God exists after all. Did Mikhail tell you about God as well? Melody stumbled and shook her head uncertainly. I don't think you've been praying to the right one. I'm not going to start in on Chef of the Day. I'm not going to start in. Furious snorted irritably into nothing, then turned his fiery gaze back on her. This idle chatter infuriates me. Why are you looking at me when you said that? The dude over here is over here asking 10 million questions. If you wanted something else to talk about, you should have started first. Understand that you're here purely by chance. Any of the 7 victims these wretches could have saved could have been in your place. Okay? And you are only so unique and astonishing as to our worthless subordinates because they have spent hundreds of years in isolation. You don't know that at all. You just want to put me into a little box that fits your point of view. Okay? You don't know what they're thinking at all. So no, I don't believe you, and I still think you're an idiot. So goodbye. An ordinary human emotion rose indignantly inside of her, a sense of self-importance. There are plenty of people outside. Just step out the door. This isn't a prison. I don't think your subordinates haven't seen a woman in hundreds of years or whatever you're implying. Furious exhaled loudly in irritation. Somnus continued the thought cold-bloodedly. There were mortals on the other side of that door, girl. Even the thought of a connection with a human is laughable to us, and equal beings simply haven't visited them. But did they need to be visited, though? I think you missed my whole point. I'm not quite sure you understand. Somnus resorted to a metaphor to illustrate his point. Their attachment to you is like an attachment to a puppy left on their doorstep. No one would intentionally look for it on the street, but out of the goodness of their hearts, they open the door and let you in. That metaphor also doesn't work. For one, certain people do go out and intentionally look for it. I don't know if you understand. I don't know. Like, I can see what they're trying to do, but like in my head, it's distinctly just not working. And the fact that they're trying so hard to make me understand the point, kind of like, would you really need to work that hard if that's how they really felt? Like, why do you need to fight so hard to convince me? Like, I don't know. When things are obviously true and you're just trying to be blind to it, that's one thing. And like, someone kind of can say something and it kind of makes you go an aha moment, like, oh, wait, maybe that was what happened in that moment, or that and that. But none of that's happening because it's just, it's such a departure. I don't know. Of course, they were presented with the finest specimen of its kind. You have to be a fool not to accept the obvious. But only of its own kind. You have managed to make them forget what you really are. It's surprising, but it's true. And as for Raphael thinking you could influence the outcome, that remains to be proven. I do not believe you are capable of giving the beast anything other than your life. Of course, you may have been misled by some of our protege's actions, but do not be mistaken about them. Someone like David wouldn't hesitate to break another's neck. Yes, he'll kill anyone, as anyone in this house would, but he won't kill for you. He'll kill for what he thinks is his. It's just greed and an inability to control himself. But it's never too late to educate him. I'll take care of that. Sonna smiled dreamily as if he wanted to participate in the training process himself. He drawled lazily. Yes, mad dogs need to be kept on a leash or they'll start taking too many liberties. I really don't know what you're trying to do here, but it's really not working. Like, this conversation has not made me even sort of doubt anybody else in this house other than these two people I'm talking to right now. I don't get it. I don't get what they meant to do with this conversation. I don't know. I'm just really confused at it all. But I do wonder if they're specifically owning in on David is because I'm playing David's safe file. And I kind of wonder what they would say about the others, but honestly, I don't want to hear it if it's just more nasty talk. So, I'll see it when I play the other save files, I guess. And these malevolent creatures stand above humanity. The Astreas aren't like them. If all immortals are like this, then I want to stay far away from them. Trust me, you definitely want to stay far away from them. Unfortunately, that's not in your future, honey. If living among humans changes immortals, that's definitely for the better. The inhabitants of Astrea are much better than you think. Her quiet remark brought smiles to the superiors' faces. What have they told you, you poor thing? I don't know who you're dreaming of, but believe me, you're not the center of this wretched place. No one said I was. You're a temporary, laughably temporary refuge. And even if they do have some perverse feelings for you, okay, so now you're doubling back on it? I thought you said that was impossible. Well, the breath of death has deceived far wiser beings. Death? Aren't you immortal? Child, the stale scent of the grave surrounds Astrea. That's why its inhabitants crave life so fiercely. Fate threw you into their jaws. It threw you like a bone to hungry dogs. They don't care what animal was skinned for the occasion. They don't care what shape or substance the bone is. But if you try to take away a hungry dog's source of amusement, it'll bite your hand off without hesitation. Oh yes, everyone here is an insanely greedy, sinful creature. And if one of them wishes to possess you, it will not be a blessing, foolish child. It will be a punishment. Okay. Melody ignored the ambiguous hint. She spoke with determination. I'm ready to be your ally, so why are you so stubbornly trying to write me off? Yes, I may seem insignificant to you, and maybe, compared to you, I am, but fate can be surprising. Even a butterfly can change the course of history, albeit by accident. There was silence and an absence of malicious smiles. This confirmed that she was on the right track. Melody took a deep breath and continued. I'm not afraid of your white or black wings. I'm afraid of what awaits all of us. And if a battle with the beast is inevitable, isn't it better to fight together on the same side? I'm not asking for your favor or respect. I'm asking you to be allowed to stand beside you. Somnus's thoughtful, slightly sleepy gaze was mesmerizing. Perhaps you've enchanted everyone in this house with your foolish, aching resolve? Your struggle is rather pathetic, but there is something to it. Sure, buddy. Something worthy of respect. Since you like it here so much, let's continue your introduction to our world. Let's test the sincerity of your intentions. At the same time, let's see what David has learned from his last lesson. And if our troublesome subordinate truly seeks redemption. Somnus's red eyes flashed unkindly. He spoke in what was almost a hiss. I chose this task for you personally. I hope you like to see in the mysteries hidden in its depth. Is that a pirate ship? I'm sorry, is this Sails in the Fog? David and Felonia accompanied her. Melody knew that David was probably being tested as much as she was, but he did everything he could to pretend that nothing terrible was happening. And as soon as she brought up their relationship, he was immediately fired up and ready to fight. He disregarded the need to keep his distance. It was as if just hearing the word relationship drove him wild. He was like a little kid. He couldn't hear anything else. Felonia remained silent the entire time. It was clear that their encounter with the possessed girls had left its mark on me. But Melody didn't know how to help her, no matter how much she wanted to. The destination turned out to be a small port town. David and Felonia genuinely enjoyed the vast landscape. They didn't pay much attention to what was going on around them. I wonder if there's anything I'd like to see where they come from. On the picturesque shore, they were greeted by a man, a former sailor who now organized tours on various vessels. He even owned a ship that was equipped with modern amenities on the inside, but remained decrepit and old on the outside. Its wooden hull was the first thing Melody noticed. Sharp, high mast, and impeccable black sails. A true pirate's gem. The story itself added a touch of romantic mystery to the place. One ship didn't return from its voyage in full. Or rather, it had to be towed back home, alone and abandoned by its guests and crew under unexplained circumstances. A ghost ship. The man kept shrugging apologetically as he told his story. It was only a matter of time before lawsuits from the relatives of the missing would start pouring in. He could be saved from fines by previously signed documents that freed him from responsibility. But what could restore the reputation of a man who lost a group of tourists at sea? Wait, I thought it was just a story. Wait a minute. No. He actually got a bunch of people killed? How did he make it back? Despite all the hardships that had befallen him, his voice remained firm. It was the voice of a real old-school sailor. He was used to arguing with the raging elements, who, of course, didn't care about the character of the one who dared to challenge them. No, but I need to understand how that happened. Okay, there we go. The ship was drifting in open water. God knows where she was pushed back from. The first mate and I went aboard, but there wasn't a soul there. Generally speaking, this isn't the first story of its kind. The question is, what exactly does Somnus plan to scare me with? Okay. Anything that might describe their last minutes on the ship? All their belongings were left in place. No distress signals were sent. They really seemed to have just vanished. Well, on the open sea, there's only one way out. If the crew jumped overboard, we'll never find their bodies. The secret drowned with them. Could they have moved to another ship, willingly or not? If whoever picked them up was a friend, my people would have shown up by now. And they wouldn't willingly leave with someone who wished them harm, but there was no sign of struggle. Melody could think of a few ways to make someone act without resorting to physical violence. Were there any children on board? Only 2 crew members and 3 tourists, all young men. So it's unlikely that someone could have threatened to harm one of them to ensure compliance. Not unlikely, actually. If they had been friends for a long time, if they were dating, anything of the above, they still could have used each other to threaten. And honestly, sometimes just like, even if it's just a stranger, if you threaten to say, hey, I'm going to kill this person if you don't do what I say, it's like, I don't want their, even if they're a stranger, I don't want their death on my hands. Of course. The conclusion is that it was an accident. The ship got caught in bad weather and people fell overboard. All of them? One person fell first and the others jumped in to help. Is your team so incompetent? Oh my god, I thought I had something. That scared me. Is your team so confident they would just dive in after each other? That's what the police think. I'm convinced otherwise. Even the life buoys are still in place. You didn't miss a single detail. Keep it up. I was like, why did I get reputation? I think I cursed the ship. The frank confession was hard for him. The man slumped guiltily. Cursed? How? I renamed her when I divorced my wife. Our paths diverged too painfully. The ship used to be called Madison. And now? The man blushed and said after a beat, heartbreaker. I'd like to see it with my own eyes. Take a look then. The police didn't consider the ship a crime scene or anything like that, so they returned her to me. The invitation sent a shiver down Melody's spine. She both feared and longed to board, to see the cursed ship with her own eyes. Since it's back in your possession, maybe we could retrace the route your crew took? If you don't mind spending a few hours on her, why not? The man gestured for everyone to follow him. In that case, I'll be your captain for today. Welcome aboard, everyone. Okay. The sea breathed deeply and calmly. It gently nudged the ship from side to side like a caring mother rocking her baby's cradle. Its soft whisper tempted Melody with sleep. She wanted to wrap herself in the dark surface of the water like a blanket and drift away. How can something so beautiful be so terrifyingly dangerous? The ocean be like that. I'll leave the beautiful view to the ladies and go below deck. David headed for the cabin. Felonia moved slowly toward the ship's railing. Where should I go? Talk to David, approach Felonia. Okay, well, since it's David's safe file, I guess I'll go that way. Melody stepped carefully down the creaky wooden steps, ducking her head to avoid hitting the low ceiling. The cabin was tiny and dim. David rummaged through the shelves without much enthusiasm and found nothing of interest. On the table lay a journal. The last entry was cut off mid-sentence. Next to it stood a half-finished cup of tea with a small circle of mold on the surface. The image of frozen time was eerie, and Melody spoke up to distract herself. Why do you think Somnus sent us here? There's no one I can talk to as an evaluator. What can I do to help? David didn't stop searching as he explained. They're just trying to scare you. They think you're timid. Well, the situation is strange, of course, but it's not exactly frightening. David looked up and smiled sweetly. That's because we haven't figured out what happened yet. He obviously had more possibilities in mind due to his extraordinary origin. Melody, on the other hand, was only just beginning to expand the boundaries of her old world. What could it be? Anything. Oh, don't take offense. I'm still not used to you knowing everything, and the fact that we don't have to choose our words carefully. Speaking of which, Melody paused dramatically, then exhaled. So, a demon? As real as it gets, at your service. David gave her a playful bow as if it were a fun job title and not a being her religious parents had used to scare her throughout her childhood. Well, it really suits him. He's so suspicious. Like the forbidden fruit, like sin itself. Yeah, the forbidden fruit probably should have stayed away from to begin, and that's kind of the point. Okay. David caught her gaze and grinned mischievously. Read your gaze, relationship has improved. And what are you up to, demon? I'm trying to figure out where a bunch of mortals disappeared to from this little ship. But on a global scale? A hint of sadness flashed in his sly smile, but it quickly vanished. I try to live a modest life on Earth and not interfere with global affairs. That's a big responsibility, you know. Very big? Just look at our poor Mikkel. He used to be a handsome fellow, but his high position and the terrible responsibility have worn him down. Melody couldn't hold back a snicker. Did he look any different before? Yes. There was a youthful spark in his eyes, and his hair lay so beautifully on his shoulders. How could he look even better? What's this? Do I hear envy? Don't be jealous, sweet Melody. Your hair looks just as good. Oh, well, thanks. The ship's owner joined them below deck, interrupting their conversation. Melody hurried away. It was impossible for three people to move around in the cramped room. David was happy to chat with you. Your friendship has improved. Oh, you can do both. Should I switch? I'm gonna switch it. Alright. Felonia was slightly hunched over, her elbows resting on the railing. She gazed into the vast distance. There was something touching about her uncharacteristic posture. It drew Melody to her like a magnet. Luckily, we have plenty of reasons to start a conversation. Were you able to find out who Emma's father went to for help? Felonia didn't turn to look at the evaluator standing next to her. She replied, I think you can guess. Someone I know. Yes. Our good Samaritan helped him get out of prison and didn't charge him a cent. I guess all he asked in return was a touching life story. Perhaps. Unexpected but very logical thought crossed Melody's mind. Fel, is Malik one of your kind too? An immortal? I mean, she just met him. She didn't know him. But I suspect so. Felonia pressed her lips together. She was clearly not yet used to discussing her nature so freely with mortals. There was another pause. It was one that Melody was terribly tired of. One caused by the need to choose the right words. No, Malik isn't one of us. Neither a demon nor an angel. So he's human. That's not quite what she said. I mean, that can be implied. However, there was no need to pause for that, if that was the case. In a way, it was comforting to know that not everyone around her was an all-powerful immortal. I put a pin in that. She suddenly had an overwhelming desire for Fel to feel the same way, for the wounds in her heart to heal, if only for a moment. The quiet evening provided a sense of intimacy. It seemed like the light mist over the water could easily hide any awkwardness. Melody gathered her courage. What did I call her? Melody? Fel, I could talk to Mikkel. I'll try to find out what he knows about your family. He's been very open with me lately. Felonia's head twitched uncertainly. She didn't dare turn around. She just glanced sideways at the evaluator. You don't have to. But I really want to help you. Besides, Oh, you remember? Felonia finally turned around. She spoke too softly. Mikkel is following orders. If he's been told to keep quiet, it'll be difficult to get him to talk. I don't want to sound overconfident, but I think he really needs something from me too. Somnus openly said that I'm like an aunt to all of you. I don't think he would be so eager to deal with me if I were just a failed victim. Felonia fell silent again. Melody thought she was working up the courage to accept her offer. They can take what they need by force. You understand that, right? If you resist too much, your life in Astrea will take a very different turn. The attempt to scare or warn her failed. Now that all the suspicions about Astrea had been proven unfounded, Melody had no more doubts. I'm sorry, Fel, but I don't believe that. They're truly good people. They're not people. You keep forgetting that. You know that Raphael crippled hundreds of mortals in that village, right? Yes, but he saved me. Felonia gave in. You know that those people in the village were carving me up, right? I don't have much sympathy, I'm be honest. It's good that it doesn't scare you. There's that. Apparently her lecture was over. Melody shifted awkwardly from foot to foot. Time to change the subject. Do you have a big family? Have you lived among humans for long? Why can't you go back home? I want to assume I can ask everything, but I'm not certain. Start with this one. I have brothers, a sister, and a father. Okay, so at least 4 people here. Are they all demons too? Yes, of course. There's no of course about that anymore, as far as Heaven Secret 2 goes. But, yeah. Okay, this is we're gonna ask everything, hopefully. It depends on how you look at it. From a mortal's perspective, long enough. For an immortal, a mere moment. How does it feel to you? It feels like I'm stuck in this place and time has stopped. So, more than a moment, though? Have you finally mustered up the courage to ask? Fel's strange smile reminded Melody that it was none of her business. If you don't want to. No, I'll tell you. In our world, I was something like a soldier, a mercenary, call it what you want. So was my father. We both served. Was there a war? There were countless wars, but we participated in others. The kind that are not fought on the battlefield, but in the shadows. I served a tyrant, a madman. I killed those who couldn't be openly killed. I hunted them like animals. I waited, lived within their walls, and struck them from behind. There was no honor in my service, only orders, and the only rule was to leave no witnesses. Felonia spoke of this simply, without remorse, and her calmness was terrifying. What happened to the one you served? He was overthrown. If my father and I had been on the other side, we would have been heroes. But the victors write history. But instead, all of his followers were killed. The most valuable were imprisoned, and the most dangerous were put to sleep so we couldn't even think of escaping. I spent thousands of years like that. When I woke up, the whole world had changed. They let you go? They made a deal with me. With me and with David. You could say we're companions in misfortune. Was the tyrant and madman David's father? although he was released much earlier. What was the deal? The beast's head or ours. It's simple. How old are they? Mikkel said you're facing the gallows, so he wasn't speaking metaphorically? No, it's true. But aren't you all immortal? Felonia didn't want to give the evaluator a lecture. She tried to answer briefly. An immortal can only be killed by another immortal, if they wish it. Humans, diseases, none of that can harm us. Time spent on Earth can age us, but before banishing us to this hole, our kind God created Astrea. Within its walls, time truly stands still. Melody imagined the guillotine. Her imagination vividly painted a picture of Felonia with her head bowed over the wooden block. All I can picture right now is Winchester, and this is making me upset. What barbarity. I took all my father's deeds upon myself, and he agreed to that so easily? It wasn't exactly easy. He had to gouge out his eyes so the judges couldn't read his past in them. God. Melody didn't want to explore the bloody subject any further. She instinctively clung to what seemed safer. Can you read the past in someone's eyes? Yep. All of us immortals can. So take care of them. Your windows to the soul. There was silence. Melody tried to figure out who was standing in front of her. Felonia thought about how to continue her confession. I was released and sent to Mikkel. As if remembering something funny, Felonia smiled. He wanted to wring my neck. I killed so many of his friends, whole families, but he couldn't disobey orders. Our honest soldier. The only thing he refused to do was live under the same roof as me, to share a home with me. So I'd better hurry up with my mission and not linger on Earth. Felonia's face actually showed bloodlust. It was deep-seated, hidden far beneath the mask of indifference. And then a long-awaited question flickered in her eyes. Are you willing to help me now? I'll talk to him when we get back to Astrea, and if necessary, I'll give him an ultimatum. This is about your family. Keeping you in the dark is cruel. We've had enough cruelty, and enough of spilling the blood of others. Blessed innocence. No one has fought for Felonia like you. She really appreciates it. As if it's in our power to decide if this world has had enough blood. The land around us is dry. It waits for a salty rain that can quench its thirst. Fel's words reminded Melody of her dream of the bloody river. Her heart pounded in her throat, dull, fast. As if sensing its beat, Felonia suddenly softened. Why are you actually helping me? Melody thought the answer was obvious. You like me? Felonia raised an eyebrow in surprise and looked at her with a strange and new expression. You're doing all this because you're trying to win my favor? It sounded ridiculous coming from her lips. Melody wanted to deny it immediately. I'm not trying to make you like me. I want you to be happy. As much as possible. Felonia clearly found no joy in her confession. At least I didn't confess my love to her. How embarrassing. Express your thoughts about her. Explain your feelings. You're much better than you want to seem. I know that. And I believe you deserve to be happy. The silence was broken only by the sound of the sea. Melody listened to its voice. She wondered how she could slip away and leave this awkward situation behind. I like you too, Melody. Really. The unexpected confession flashed through Melody and filled her with dizzying hope. You're alive. You're real. And if we met at another time, under other circumstances, everything could have been different. Felonia was suddenly very close. Melody hadn't even noticed the scent of sea salt being replaced by a powdery fragrance. And this is all I can... Melody didn't have time to understand what she meant. All her thoughts were cut off by the thin fingers on the back of her head. With a single tug, Felonia pulled her closer and crushed her lips together. Melody hadn't admitted to herself before, but now she knew for certain. She had wanted this for a long time. She wanted to feel those thin, delicate fingers on her. She wanted to taste Fel's lips. She wanted to feel what Felonia wanted. Melody wanted it so badly, but the moment she got it, she felt deceived. I didn't realize she was so short. There was no tenderness or passion in the kiss. None of the emotions that were the hardest to contain in moments like this. It felt like there was nothing there. The only thing clearly present on Felonia's soft lips was despair. Is she that afraid of getting close to someone? Yeah, buddy. Melody reached for Felonia herself. She cupped Fel's face in her hands, shielding it from the whole harsh, unwelcoming world. She poured all of her gentleness and tenderness into the kiss, all her budding feelings. And as soon as Felonia's hand settled timidly on her waist, she parted her lips. The wall Fel built up for so long cracked. Desire seeped through and she surrendered, accepting the invitation. Her tongue slipped into Melody's parted mouth. Melody felt herself sinking into something thick and sweet, like honey. Felonia kissed her deeply and slowly, her fingers sliding hard over her curves. She explored Melody unhurriedly, arousing and emptying her at the same time. Melody arched her back. The ship's cold railing burned her skin. Felonia pressed harder. Melody was to her taste. Both of them felt that railing wouldn't be able to contain their growing passion much longer, and even the sea, if they were to meet it, wouldn't be able to cool them down. It would be funny if we really fell overboard. Felonia bit her lower lip gently. Melody pulled her closer. And I don't care. At that moment, she really wanted to escape. And even if only the open sea could save them, Melody didn't mind. Inside her, feelings raged far stronger than the waves overboard. Felonia pulled her away from her. She breathed into Melody's lips so quietly, as if afraid she'd actually hear the words. This is all I can give you as thanks for your help. The magical moment evaporated too quickly. A hole formed in Melody's chest, right where her heart had been beating so eagerly just moments before. Do you think I'm helping you for this? Melody didn't wait for an answer. Something flared up inside her, shame or resentment, she wasn't sure. Don't, Fel. Don't do that anymore. Her voice trembled, but Melody composed herself. If you want to run away, that's fine by me. I'll help you break free, I promise. And I don't need that kind of gratitude. A simple thank you would be enough. Her lips still burned from the kiss, but her cheeks burned even more. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. She couldn't have kissed me like that just out of gratitude. Melody wet the inside of her cheek, holding back the emotions that threatened to rise to the surface. She made her voice as cold as she could. Fine, let's forget about it. Her lips trembled. She couldn't stop it, just like she couldn't stop what she had felt a moment ago. So she simply walked away in silence, leaving Fel alone with her thoughts. Whatever Felonia said, she won't be able to erase that kiss from her mind. She went to the other end of the ship to make herself useful somehow. She started looking around for at least something. Tired, she leaned over the railing a little and inhaled the salty sea air. Where could they have gone? Melody tried to imagine the circumstances that would make her jump overboard. The sea began to roar louder. Its whisper was filled with anxiety. It was as if it was trying to tell her the story of the cursed ship. It's like it's talking to me. Melody leaned over a little more and held her breath. Oh, don't listen that closely. Don't fall over. Siren? The soothing song of the sea waves became even more enchanting. It was like the most pleasant lullaby she had ever heard. Melody suddenly felt an overwhelming urge to go toward the call. Read it, seriously? To dive in headfirst and wash away all her worries and fears. It felt like the dark water could actually help her with them. Do I really want this? The sea is affecting me strangely, this particular area. Could the missing people have felt the same thing I'm feeling? The water suddenly seemed ominous. It was like it was hiding some kind of secret. Melody forced herself to tear her gaze away. She looked around. A shore with hideous rocks seemed unexpectedly close. The island caught her eye. It bared its teeth like shards of stone at the passing ship. We saw this route with tourists for a reason. It's a very scenic place, isn't it? The first man approached soundlessly like a ghost. He stood beside her. Melody nodded uncertainly. She pointed to a small hollow under a rocky overhang. Is there a grotto there? Yes, but we don't take tourists there. You have to swim underwater to get to the cave. We don't have a license for that, and it's dangerous. Did the police check it out? I doubt it. Why? Well, because they assumed everybody jumped overboard. They don't think they're hiding out over there. Why would they? Well, the man didn't wait for a response. He continued his thought. If the ship had been abandoned here, it would most likely have drifted to the rocks. In general, I think your search is pointless. The sea won't give them up. Melody glanced at the grotto again. For some reason, she felt an intense desire to get there. Nothing in the cabin. David finished his work and leaned casually against the ship's railing. What are you two talking about? Doesn't that grotto look suspicious to you? David followed her gaze and shrugged. No? Does it to you? Melody listened to her feelings again. Something was pulling her there, into the water, irresistibly. Maybe it's intuition, a sign from above, a mistake, a faith route, sign. The existence of higher powers was no longer in doubt. So maybe they actually want to help me? I doubt it, but honestly, it does. Can you get closer? Fine. While the owner and the first mate discussed and changed their course, David waved Felonia over. Ready for a swim? Do you feel something? No, but we can check it out. It might be something only humans can feel. I think they might have gone into that grotto. Why? Maybe something scared them and they decided to hide there? Or it attracted them? Felonia raised an eyebrow in response. Come on, let's check it out. I've got no other ideas anyway. There are no curses here. I don't even sense the presence of anyone like us. The first mate approached them with a pile of swimsuits in his hands. I can offer you swimsuits. You probably didn't bring any with you. David grimaced and stepped back dramatically. Thanks, but no thanks. I don't think I can find anything suitable here. What does that mean? And we're not planning a long swim anyway. Melody made the sensible decision to accept the offer. Felonia followed suit. I'm certainly not going to flaunt my underwear around here. Felonia was the first to change in the cabin. Your turn. Before going down, Melody couldn't help but let her gaze linger on Fel. The one-piece swimsuit hugged her slender, flawless body impressively. So that's what the body of a demon, a true temptress, looks like. Melody suddenly realized something with great clarity. If Fel used her charms, it would be hard to resist them. She could seduce anyone. Hey, Melody. Melody quickly turned away and went into the cabin. On the table next to the unfinished cup of tea were several swimsuits for her to choose from. Alright, let's see what we have here. This is what I would want to wear down there. It's cold. Okay? Look at this. What is that? Get it all. I don't know how often we're going to be swimming, but sure. Let's just buy it all. Why not? I don't know what we're wearing though. This one's just so ridiculous. This is not much better. It's actually not. No, wait. This one has more of a cut up the hip. There was no mirror in the cabin, so Melody hoped... Why do they have swimsuits that look like this? So Melody hoped the swimsuit fit decently and she went back upstairs. Everyone's ready. Wonderful. Felonia was attaching a diving light to her belt when Melody came up to get hers. Felonia slowly raised her eyes to the evaluator, then froze for a moment. Do you need help? Felonia jolted out of her daze and returned to the light. Take a light, Melody. It'll be safer that way. The first mate had changed as well. He asked if everyone was ready. The question was mostly directed at David. Everyone stared at him expectantly. Just a second. He unbuttoned his shirt halfway in a laid-back manner, then he deftly pulled it over his head and casually tossed it onto the railing. Let's go. Melody stretched just in case, loosening her muscles. I love how we get to run through the woods and swim in the sea. David was the first to jump overboard. He leaped over the metal steps that descended into the water. Soon, he was shoulder deep in the liquid darkness. He reached out and offered his hand to the ladies. Felonia pointedly refused. Her entire demeanor indicated that she'd rather drown than touch his outstretched hand. What a gentleman. Melody declined his help with a polite smile. She carefully slipped into the water. I wonder if we're taking it probably on his route, and I wonder he probably would have been the one to react when she came out on his route instead. God, it's so cold. Which is why I would have worn the full bodysuit, but that's fine. Her teeth chattered as she waited for her body to adjust to the temperature. Her companions seemed completely unaffected. That's because they are. They can regulate their temperature. I guess I'm the only one who's feeling the cold. The first mate led the way. He cut slowly through the water's surface with his outstretched hands and headed for the grotto. His feet occasionally surfaced for brief moments. They splashed noisily and showered those behind him with gray droplets. Time and time again, Melody caught herself thinking that she needed to get into that cave. It was as if a matter of life and death. Should I say something? Yeah, just like all the other problems you have, and should probably say something. Melody raised her head higher to avoid swallowing water. She tried to shout to those swimming nearby. Guys, I don't know why, but I really need to get in that cave. What do you mean? It's like a force is pulling me toward it. David met this statement with silence. Felonia's serious voice made her tense. Stick close to me, alright? Alright. You decided to warn your team. This will affect the plot. The cave was hidden under a rocky... We have a team for a reason, okay? Let's work together. I clearly have no protection against this freaking supernatural stuff. I need their help. I'll check how long we need to swim underwater. Trembling ripples spread out where David had just been. After a while, the water's surface calmed. Time slowed. It thickened and seemed disturbingly prolonged. Melody stared intently into the grotto. Why is he taking so long? As if reading her thoughts, Felonia reassured her. Don't worry, he won't drown. He can't. He swims that well? No, it's that water can't kill him, honey. He holds his breath that well. He's immortal, of course. He probably can't even suffocate. Melody felt special, like she was in on a secret. She nodded and glanced at the first mate, having a secret, but he wasn't paying attention to their chatter. If only he knew who he was swimming with so casually in the moonlight. David returned, and with him came a sense of calm. It's interesting that it's not calling the first mate guy. His wet curls clung to his face. He shook his head cheerfully, scattering drops of water everywhere. Don't mind me. The swim isn't too long. Everyone can manage. Melody took a deep, noisy breath and dove in. David and the first mate lit the way ahead with dim, murky light. Felonia followed behind. The increasing pressure seemed to make the water denser. Moving forward became more difficult. Melody slowed down without meaning to. Again? Stop it, Reddit. Oh my goodness. But Felonia, swimming behind her, urged her on with a barely perceptible touch. Melody gathered all her strength. She spread her arms wider and paddled faster. But the touch came again. Fingertips on her ankle left gentle trails that made her uneasy. Melody turned around. She stilled in the water as if suspended in jelly and took a closer look around. The water column playfully concealed her mischievous pursuer for a while, but then, unable to hide for too long, it revealed itself. At first, Melody saw only its blurry silhouette, but soon it took on a clear shape. Illuminated by the distant, faint light of the torch, the creature appeared before her in all its glory. I'm gonna need y'all to not with the jump scares. Not cool, dude. It's like 11 o'clock at night. It's midnight, even. I'm gonna take a picture of that. Felonia appeared beside her as if from nowhere, snapping her out of her daze. She grabbed the evaluator by the waist and pulled her up, away from the terrifying creature. A moment later, Melody was able to take a full breath. You shared your concerns with your colleagues. Felonia was ready to save you. There you go. There you go. Open your mouth. Talk about it. Just saying. Melody climbed onto the rocky shore. She immediately rushed to David. I mean, don't just be spilling all your guts to random strangers, but you know. There's a siren in the water. She looks very pretty. Also, was I wearing that hair? Not at all. Mm-mm. A real siren. God. David wasn't as terrified as she was. Instead, he let out a long groan and rolled his eyes. Oh, no. Not those nasty creatures. It seems there's only one of them, then. Felonia climbed out next and wrung at her hair. Should we dive together? Well, if we want to wrestle that with the slippery creature at the bottom first, I can wait. I'll give you some time. David expressed his opinion with an exceptionally sour expression. Ew, Felonia. Are you really going back in the water? Well, we could just stay and live in this cave. The first man had been silently stunned the whole time. He finally spoke up. Are you serious? A siren? What the hell? You're a sailor. Don't you believe in sirens? The look on the man's face showed how much he doubted David's sanity. Listen, it's clear the people we're looking for aren't here. We can swim back. No one stopped the man, but what did stop him from making a fatal mistake was a face that slowly emerged above the surface of the water. You believe a little bit now, buddy? You might want to sit back. Get back against the wall, Melody. She backed away obediently. She watched in horror as her colleagues dived back into the water and disappeared after the siren. A heavy silence descended over the cave. Even the first mate stepped back from the edge of the shore and fell silent. I bet, buddy. What if they don't come back? They'll come back. Icy cold gripped her limbs. Melody imagined an hour passing, then 2, then 24. As she tried to get back to the ship, but as soon as she approached the water, the creature's face would appear. Like a vulture, the siren would wait. It would wait for the desire to escape to outweigh the fear, for dehydration to make her dizzy, for drowning to no longer seem like such a terrible death. Why are they taking so long? Finally, the water churned and thrashed wildly. The siren beat its long tail against the surface. It struggled to free itself from fragile Felonia's iron grip. David grimaced in disgust and held it down. He gripped its neck and pressed the creature's head against him. Are they dragging it here? Melody pressed her back against the wall. She suddenly realized just how little space there was in this grotto. The siren was sprawled on the shore. Its tail alone took up nearly a third of the space. The creature hissed and screamed. It kept trying to sink its teeth into David's neck, but he held it tightly. Felonia finally released the creature's tail. She swore and approached his head. "You don't belong here, and we can't send you back. Sorry." Sensing something, the creature thrashed harder. The hissing turned into a long, pitiful wail. Are they gonna kill it? I don't know what I'm supposed to say here. No. It just killed a full boat full of people, though. I knew it was just eating. But... oh, man. There's no way to send it back. I kind of feel, but isn't there another way? I mean, we can sell it somewhere in this world. Where? I mean, it settled here and it decided to just eat people. Melody, don't be ridiculous. If a siren ends up in human hands, they'll cut it to pieces, inch by inch. A quick death is its best option. Not wrong about that. Felonia shoved her hands into the siren's mouth. She grabbed its upper jaw with one hand and its lower jaw with the other. Blood began to flow down her arms. It was clearly her own, but she paid no attention to the pain. Slowly, with a sickening sound, the creature's flesh, tendons, and then bones tore apart. That's a quick death? The siren's torn jaw dangled from a thin strap of skin, but the creature kept hissing. That doesn't seem fast, guys. It was unclear if it was cursing or just in pain. It writhed and bled and scratched at the stones, trying to crawl back into the water, but Felonia held it firmly by its long, scaly tail. Good thing it only managed to eat 5 and no one made him fuss. The first mate mumbled something incoherent and tried to voice his opinion, but the shock had rendered him speechless. The poor man couldn't take his eyes off the siren. His own jaw had dropped and a thin stream of drool was trickling down his chin. We should snap him out of it. Finish it, Fel. Felonia dragged the siren to the center of the cave and let it go. She began to flex and unflex her fingers. As she warmed up, the creature tried to crawl away again, but Fel wouldn't let it. She stretched her hand out. Felonia's skin began to pulse with red light as if molten lava was flowing beneath it. Then suddenly the creature burst into flames. It was as if it was made entirely of dry twigs. The cave was full of bright light and inhuman screams. Melody couldn't watch the creature writhe in agony. She turned away. She covered her nose with her hand to block out the suffocating stench of burnt fish and scorched human flesh. Melody stared blankly at the wall and tried to suppress her gag reflex. She didn't notice the etchings at first. There was a message on the stone surface. It was scratched out in nervous, jagged handwriting. It's in the water. We can't get out. So they really were in this cave? Or was it someone else? Someone no one even bothered to look for? Within seconds, all that was left of the siren was black ash. The fire went out. The lighting changed. It returned to the dim attempts of the flashlights to illuminate the small space. David's expression was one of displeasure. He tried to wash the stench off his hands, but the seawater didn't help much. Great. We can swim back. Melody glanced cautiously at the terrified first mate. He clearly wasn't planning on reacting to anything. He sat motionless, staring ahead. He seemed to have stopped blinking. Oh, really? So sailors don't dream of seeing a mermaid after all? David. Even if they do, wanting it and seeing her are two very different things. Can he swim? The man couldn't even close his mouth or wipe the drool away. Looks like we won't have to erase his memory after all. David finally smiled. He walked toward the water. Alright, let's go. We'll tell the captain that the first mate stayed here. He'll pick him up later. Both of y'all strong, can't one of y'all just drag him back? I guess, no, if he's knocked out, then he'll suffocate on the way back because he won't be holding his breath. We're leaving him? Yes. No. But we'll tell the captain where he is. That's not the point. Why would you leave him here? Melody pushed David lightly on the shoulder and frowned. Sometimes I'm just amazed at your humanity, honestly. What if he falls in the water and drowns? It was clear that her words didn't affect her colleagues in the least. Felonia was the first to give in. She had apparently decided that it would be easier to just take the man with them than to convince Melody to leave him behind. I'll take him. I'll swim so fast that he won't have time to drown. She grabbed the man by the scruff like a kitten and dragged him to the water. Now you. Melody glanced at the water. Suddenly she was afraid to. Are you sure there are more of those creatures down there? I am, Melody. I'm just saying, without me telling you to go to the grotto, you didn't know the first one was there. David waited patiently for her to steady herself. He didn't rush her. Fine. And, not to mention, when you swam in the first time, it didn't bother you. It waited till I got down. Finally, she sighed heavily and nodded. He really did swim very close to her all the way back. It was comforting. Okay. I was just casually going through with my autoclicker only to realize that I completely missed a scene because I was replaying on David's file and didn't realize there's an extra diamond scene that I completely missed. So let's... I think I'm going to squeeze this in to where it's supposed to go. But yeah, just know this was recorded like an hour after I finished recording. 2 hours even. It's almost 2 a.m. I had to go to bed. Anyway... David was asking me if I needed help because she was afraid to get in the water. Remember, because it's a freaking siren. Please help me. Close your eyes, Melody. I didn't notice when he took off his shirt earlier that he had nipple piercing. It was only when I was playing back through and she noticed it and I was like, oh, that's a thing. Then close your eyes, Melody. She obeyed willingly and felt goosebumps spread over her skin. Fear turned to excited anticipation, and David didn't disappoint. His soft lips brushed against her temple with a gentle, weightless touch. David kissed her cheekbones, her cheeks, her eyelids. He wasn't trying to ignite feelings in her, he was trying to calm them. He caught the drops of water trickling down her face with his lips. He kissed away her fears and worries. I rid you of everything and everyone. Just say the word. Melody longed for a drop to touch her lips, but it betrayed her and slipped lower. David kissed her chin. Melody couldn't resist. Without opening her eyes, she found his face with her hands and pulled him closer. She covered his lips with hers, and she lost herself in an innocent but intoxicating kiss. But David held back and kept his lips closed. He enjoyed the tenderness she gave him. He didn't seek more. And only God knew how hard it was for him. I wonder if they only say God here because they haven't name-dropped Sheffa yet. But anyway, it doesn't matter what anyone says about him. He would never hurt me. Melody pressed herself against him so hard that she felt the cold metal of his piercing, the only cool part of him. David's skin burned, warming every cell in her body with his tight embrace. Melody pulled away and looked into his eyes, shy, apologetic. You'll feel the tusk because of me. I'm sorry. His mischievous smile made it clear that he wasn't upset. It spoke louder than any words. I didn't stand a chance, Melody. I knew that the moment I saw you in Mikhail's office. The moment I looked into your eyes. Reckless? What punishments await you? David allowed his fingertips to glide along her neck. He lifted her chin and whispered against her lips. No punishment in the world, Melody, can compare to the torture of not touching you. Of seeing you and not kissing you. Melody had no idea that he was capable of such tenderness. She dissolved in the kiss, as did everything around her. Everything disappeared, The outline of the grotto, the ashes underfoot. If you want to, there won't be anyone around. Just you and me, Melody. Melody was entranced by his words. She was ready to stay with him forever in that damn cave. David, well aware of the power he had over her, interrupted his sincere speech. Close your eyes. Don't think about anything. His whisper enveloped her. The scent of mist replaced the smell of burnt flesh, banishing all horrors. His hand roamed over her back, soothing her, never going too far. And though his heart beat wildly, all his movements were smooth and gentle. They were almost chaste. He could have passed for innocence itself right now, if not for his quickened breath and burning her skin. If not for his voice, slightly hoarse, hiding so many unspoken desires. Are you ready to go with me? Without opening her eyes, Melody whispered, Anywhere. David backed toward the water and pulled her along, never breaking their embrace. Melody felt the water rise with each step. It slid over her calves and thighs, trying to engulf her again, but there was no room left. No room left for anything but David and his warmth. And there was no room for fear. Okay. Just gonna add that a little bit in. Yeah, I'm definitely glad I didn't miss that. That would have been super embarrassing. And also I would have felt sad that I missed it. So yeah, thankfully I'm just going through replaying all these little sections in order to catch that. A good thing I did catch it because I was just clicking away. Okay. Yeah, cool. They had to tell the captain that the first mate had gotten caught on the ledge in the cave and nearly drowned. The man hardly believed it, but he believed in the curse even more. To avoid more victims, he promised to burn the ship to free the souls of the missing crew, and never to endanger other poor souls again. The Strains didn't know how to react. They simply agreed. They didn't stay long. They said goodbye to the sea that had stirred their hearts and went home. Somnus and Furious weren't in Astrea, so Melody kept all her impressions of the assignment to herself. Good. Didn't want to talk to them anyway. David had no intention of going to them anyway. He said right on the doorstep that a hot bath was much more important to him right now. The women agreed with his idea and went their separate ways. Before going to her room, Melody decided to take a walk in the garden. She visited her wolf and collected her thoughts. The garden no longer seemed frightening. When she heard a rustle, she turned instinctively toward it. Cassiel came to the statue of Astrea through his own hidden paths, well concealed from prying eyes. You usually sneak up on me without a sound. I knew you were here, daydreaming as always. Let me switch. I knew you were here, daydreaming as always. I was trying to get your attention so you wouldn't clutch at your heart later. Oh, well, thank you. Melody was genuinely touched by his concern. She moved aside, inviting him to sit beside her on the bench. Cassiel came closer, but didn't sit down. I heard Somnus sent you to a Siren. Is that true? Yes. Have you ever seen any? Yes, once. It wasn't a very interesting story. An uninteresting story about a feral siren? Nah. Tell me about it. Why? You'll have nightmares. Cassiel continued to surprise her with his unintrusive care. He looked at her as if she were a fickle child. Felonia literally tore the creature's mouth apart right in front of me. And then burned it alive. I'm gonna have nightmares anyway. Your silence won't save me. Alright, just one story. Cassiel dug through the depths of his memory. He spoke slowly. I was still a child when I crashed into a flying island during a flight. A flying island? Just one story, Melody, and no more questions. Melody fell silent under his heavy, stern gaze. She quickly covered her mouth with her hand. My wing hadn't finished regenerating, and I fell into the water. The sirens attacked me almost immediately. There were too many, and I was too small. They dragged me to the bottom in less than a minute. Cassiel fell sadly silent. Melody slowly lowered her hand from her face. She waited for a few seconds, then whispered softly, "It sounds like the story ended and you died." "No, I didn't. They drowned me all night long." "What do you mean?" "Sirens can't kill an immortal, and their charms don't work on us. They hunt more primitive creatures, animals, and humans. I was choking on water and fighting back until my older sister found me. She sensed me even through the depths of the water. She helped me break free." Cassiel glanced at the statue and fell silent again. "His sister is buried here." Melody tried to give herself away. She smiled warmly. "I can only imagine what you look like." Cassiel didn't take the joke well. His answer was so frank that it completely dispelled the humor. "Like a drowned person? What else?" "That's not what I meant." "I was underwater for so long." That was the end of Cassiel's story. "Well, that's a cautionary tale. Thanks." He nodded and gave her a tired smile. "Cassiel was happy to share his past with you." "Was he?" "That was an awful story. Not that he's awful at telling stories, it's just that was very horrific, especially for his child. Anyway, I've got something for you." Cassiel had been holding some sort of amulet in his fist the whole time. Now it lay on his outstretched palm. "I don't like the game that Somnus is playing. I don't like that he's putting you in danger. And until we solve this problem, promise me you'll wear this amulet. Please." Melody looked at the trinket warily. She asked, "How will it help me?" "When there's danger near you, the amulet will start to heat up. Just a little at first, but the closer the danger gets, the hotter it will burn." "Ooh, sound like I'm gonna end up with a burn mark." "Sounds like a game where you say warmer and as you get closer to the object you're looking for." "Yes, but if the amulet activates, you need to run. Do you hear me? If none of us are around, run. Don't try to find the source. Got it?" Melody saw guilt in Cassiel's eyes. Is he torturing himself over what happened to me in the village? But is it really his fault? "Got it. Will you help me put it on?" Cassiel moved behind her and paused for a moment. A shiver ran down her spine as he gently brushed her hair aside with his fingers. For a moment, it felt like he was doing it too slowly on purpose. How interesting. It was pleasant to be encircled by his arms, even if only for a little while. Melody leaned back involuntarily, and though her back never met his chest, she could vividly feel the heat radiating from him. "Done." Cassiel spoke in a whisper. Melody replied just as softly, "Thank you. Don't sit here for too long, alright?" "Alright." Cassiel gave her a thoughtful look, then walked slowly toward the house. Cassiel thinks about you constantly and it's driving him crazy. Melody sat for a while longer before finally feeling a long-awaited drowsiness. Okay, here we go. Will we have another nightmare? She was sure that tonight's I don't like this music. She was sure that tonight's nightmare would come to her in the form of a siren with a torn mouth. Maybe the creature would drag her underwater. Or maybe she'd find herself in a cave, in total darkness and utter loneliness, alone with the realization that death awaited her in the water. But even such grim thoughts couldn't rob the exhausted evaluator of desire to sleep. I'm ready to fight monsters all night, as long as I don't dream of my father. No cults, no damn beast. Melody closed her eyes. She deliberately thought of the sea. She fell asleep, lulled by the memory of its waves. God. But that wasn't what she dreamed of. Of course not. The same familiar dream repeated itself. The same room, the same hand on her shoulder. The same fear. Melody waited for the door to reappear in the wall. She felt like she was burning from the inside. The unbearable heat... Burning? It's the amulet! The unbearable heat radiated from her heart and spread over her skin. Melody whimpered softly. She clutched at her nightgown as if she wanted to rip out the painful organ. Her father's concise speech didn't go as planned. What is that? We've never gotten a clear look at his face before. We've seen Mom. What is this devilish instrument, Melody? Why did you bring it into our home? Melody didn't understand what he meant. She scratched at her skin. She wanted only one thing, to get rid of the heat. Her father's hand reached for her chest to tear at the burning heart. Only then did Melody wake up. The amulet protected her. So she's in real danger when she's in those dreams. I figured as much. God, what kind of dream was that? Melody was drenched in sweat. She subconsciously touched her chest and immediately pulled her hand away. It's hot. The amulet Cassiel had given her burned unbearably. She's in serious danger. Just from sleeping. Can you imagine? I mean, I'm terrified to go to sleep at night. Why I'm usually up late and I don't sleep a lot. But, like, not for this reason. Like, God. I mean, I used to have really bad night terrors. But now I'm afraid to sleep because I'm afraid to wake up with this, having a seizure. That's a whole different thing. The whole point is, that's crazy. Wow. Okay. So Siren, huh? So what does it mean that creatures that shouldn't be here are kind of slipping in through the cracks and ending up here on Earth? That's interesting. I wonder why that is. I wonder if it's the beast's influence or something like that, or some other, or maybe this happens from time to time. I don't know. How interesting. How weird. That's one thing they hadn't even talked about, I don't think, even in the Heaven's Secret stories so far. Maybe at this point they mentioned it in Heaven's Secret Requiem? I don't know. Could be a possibility, but read it again? Okay, anyway, I'm gonna take that as my sign to go ahead and end this part right here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!